Hello, hello. Welcome to the second episode of the Jarred Up podcast with Tariq Navarone. Tariq's a local Sheffield promoter. He's promoted in places such as Picture House, SOYO Live, and Bar Matrix way back in day. We delve deep into his past in Sheffield promotion scene and also some other things he's been working on recently. Enjoy.
Yes.
Yo.
Hey.
Yo, Taz.
How you doing?
Yeah, we're good, thank you, Taz. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, mate.
Yeah. What you got behind you there?
Some pictures.
Yeah, do you want to tell us about the pictures, Taz, mate? Being very cryptic.
I'll see. There's I think that's a reference to The Cure, that kitty cat one.
Oh, yeah.
Hand in hand is the only way to land.
Oh, lovely.
That one is the Tom J. Newell Mad Lib.
Yeah, I can tell that's Tom J. Newell.
Yeah, oh yeah, actually.
I think that one's a Lord Bun one as well next to it.
A Lord one?
Lord Bun.
Oh, I thought you said Lord.
And then in the corner, that's an old Club Pony poster. And then just a mother crap on wall, you know what I mean?
Lovely, mate. I've never seen the inside of your house, Taz. I was just curious.
Oh, yeah.
Where does Taz live?
Yeah, this is what Taz lives in.
Delightful. How are you guys then? All right?
Yeah, good, man. What have we been doing? Don't know. Trying to set up this, to be honest. Just trying to arrange loads of different podcasts with different people, pretty much.
How's it been going?
Well, Max and David recorded one so far.
Yeah, we did one with a photographer that we knew back from Guildford, Rob Blackham.
Yeah.
All right.
So this is the second one.
Yeah, this is the second one.
Yeah.
So
They not ship people out way first.
I bet you wanted to be first as well. Yeah. Who knows? We haven't even put the Rob Blackham one out yet. So we could just put you first, but we probably won't, just to annoy you.
So all that, like you're getting all that, like the mates' favors in first.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. We're getting all the people that we can just use as test runs. You know.
It's good. It's a great idea.
Yeah, you're a trial run, Taz.
Yeah, I mean.
How's your lockdown series 3 been?
Got a kid now, haven't I? So I mean.
Yeah.
Your time is taken up.
Does that mean it's your favorite or least favorite lockdown?
Sorry, I'm just trying to put it to you. I mean, it's the same. I think I didn't really leave the house the first time round, even when pubs reopened. I only went out a couple of times.
Yeah.
Because when my missus was pregnant, you didn't really want to. If you caught it, it's all right for me. But if I brought it back to the house, and that it's a different thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we've not really changed much, and I'm working from home now. So.
Yeah.
So is it all one continuous lockdown for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The past year, a complete write-off.
Yeah, for sure. Just been down since March, pretty much.
Yeah.
Can't remember what the actual date was now, but
March the 23rd.
Yeah.
I think that is the date. It's nearly been a year.
Yeah. It's been a long time.
It's been a long year, man. Like we were saying, I think in July or like March, if you had told me that my birthday in February, we'd still potentially be locked down for, I'd be like...
in denial.
What? That is a joke.
I don't know. I always thought it was possible all along because of the way that a vaccine has to be made.
It had just been my birthday, and then I remember when work closed down, like that weekend. I think we'd been out, hadn't we, the Monday?
Yeah.
So like, yeah, and then we done, and that's it. Like, and it's been a year since then.
To give the people some context, Ollie and I work at a bar where Taz was the in-house music promoter, and we had a big old staff do all the way back in March. I can't remember what day. I think it might have been a Sunday, or it seems like that would have been.
Monday. It was a Monday. I remember.
Yeah, got it in the scrapbook. Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
times. Yeah. No, but we all went out, and then that we got all the reports through. We heard it on the news, like, oh, this is the pandemic. We might actually go into a lockdown, blah blah blah. And yeah, it was very much, was it like a last hurrah?
At West Street Live.
Yeah, literally last supper. Yeah, at West Street Live.
Time to be alive, eh?
Yeah, well, there you go. What is it? There was actually a question I was going to ask you, more in relation to the kind of reason we're doing this podcast, I guess. It was like, I remember you always used to tell me that you did stuff at SOYO Live.
Yeah.
I was thinking, like, was that your first promotion thing that you ever did? Was there anything before that? Was that literally the first thing?
I worked when I was 16, 17, I started working in bars as like a glass collector at like one was like an R&B bar, which was really rough. It was called Empire
What bar was that?
It was called Empire Bar. Do you know where the Light Cinema is now?
Oh right, yeah.
So say like where Gatsby's is, you can walk down to the light. The back entrance, that used to be a bar there. It used to be the whole thing used to be a car park, and there was a bar on top, basically. And I worked there, and then I worked across the road at a place called Bar Matrix, and that turned into a place called, which was like a late bar, played like house music. And one of the managers there, a guy called Aves, another Asian guy. We basically used to have a Bhangra night on there, and the promoters pulled out one time, so we just kind of put some like a little R&B thing together, club night, and we did that a few times, kind of thing. But that that was kind of the first ever thing I did.
Where was that? Was that at
Bar Matrix?
Bar Matrix, right? Okay.
It was a weird place. It was like there's two rooms to it. One room was an internet cafe, which kind of shows you from the time it was. But it was like a few years too late to be an internet cafe because everyone started getting broadband in the house. Oh. So in the daytime, you just get old pervy men trying to go on porn in the cafe. And then in the other side was like the main bar area. But yeah, I worked there for about a couple of years, to maybe 3 years or something like that, while I was in college.
Just goes to show, isn't it? Glass collectors can go on to do great things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look at me now.
Well, exactly. You know, you've got to start somewhere as well, haven't you? Yeah.
What's that?
You got to start somewhere.
Well, yeah, I definitely did start somewhere. Yeah. Exactly. I don't know where that somewhere was.
That's the thing, though. Like I started off as a glass collector there, and then kind of moved up into the bar and then managing. But I don't think I probably would have, without the people that I've met there, I don't think I would have probably gone into promoting and like music promotion from that. So it was very much a kind of starting point of a career, if you think of it that way.
Yeah. For sure. It's weird to like, because you're telling me about all these bars, and I've only been in Sheffield for like 3 years, but I've genuinely never heard of them.
I was thinking that.
Yeah, I mean, the Sheffield City Centre in the past 10 years has changed so much. Yeah. I mean, just on Division Street itself, Division Street used to be a road just full of independent stores, basically, and then FOP used to be on there. Obviously, it was owned by HMV and stuff, but there used to be Jack's Records on there and loads of different like independent shops. And now there's another one of
those. There's another one of those FOP shops in London, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was
they closed all of them down except like 4 of them, something like that. But where did it used to be? Near Bungalows, I think.
Okay, so not a million miles from where Bear Tree is now.
Not a million miles at all, no.
It's interesting.
The 2 strips.
When did Bear Tree come about then?
No, Joe's not been. Well, he's worked in Sheffield for a long time. He worked at Red Collector, and he worked in Nottingham. But as his shop, Bear Tree, he moved, must be 5 or 6 years maybe. And he started off in Orchard Square in just tiny little unit.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, when did he move to
Yeah,
where he is now?
yeah, it used to be like you say, where that Waterstones is, like just above
Yeah,
there.
yeah, but
And
yeah.
Oh, really?
And then they moved there about 2 years ago, I think. If I'm not
Yeah, he moved from a small unit into a bigger unit in there, and then he moved to Forum. But the Forum shop's great.
It's a good space for them there, isn't it? It's
Perfect
great.
size, I think, for a record shop.
Mm.
Because you still got to like have someone curating like what's coming in. Really, just having a really good selection of stuff, as well as being able to do some like in-store stuff as well. I think it's really important to have that as a record shop.
In the like capacity to do an in-store show.
Yeah. I mean, don't do loads of them, but you know what I mean. Have the ability to do them. I think is really important.
Yeah, I think obviously in-stores have been a thing for ages, but I think obviously since vinyl has kind of come back on a big scale, people have kind of gone back to doing those in stores before they do their big actual album tour. You know, it's like cheeky little, especially to try and sell more vinyl. So yeah, I agree. It's a good thing to have the capacity for. But
well, yeah, I mean, like for a lot of bands, you know, selling another 200 records is a big jump in like charting and stuff like that. So
yeah, well, it's like it's where most bands made their money. You know, we were talking about this. It's like whatever we choose to do next, it's like we want to be able to tour around that. And obviously, if that's not possible because of COVID and whatnot, you're then looking at, right, how are we going to make some money from our actual art in a sense? And that all comes solely through merchandise. If you don't have a record label that aren't pushing you to put out records and put out singles so that you can get on the Spotify playlist and all that, you need to rely on vinyls and touring and merchandise, and that's the only way you make money. So yeah, it's places like Bear Tree that allow that to happen for bands like us as well.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're going to be the type of band who is trying like to make your own stuff as well, not just in terms of like, you know, records, but like the stuff that goes alongside zines and you know, you make it actually doing your own merch, not just having someone design that for you and things like that. I think there's a few types of bands, and some bands get handled, and then some bands like who are independent have to do them stuff. And I think they're the ones who kind of, I don't know, maybe, but like sometimes I think bands like that who do their own things. I think like a good example is Girl Band when they first started, when they were like doing artwork and stuff for the releases. Even though they're limited releases, I think it adds a real value to a band, in my opinion, and it really galvanizes like a fan base at least.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about the Lovely Eggs before as well, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
They played Pitch House a couple of times. I think when I was questioning you about like kind of how much a band can do it alone without label management, booking agent, like is it possible?
They do everything themselves.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, they're lovely people. I mean, they are literally lovely eggs. But I think I'm not 100% sure of the history, but I think maybe they've had support in the past of, you know, agents and stuff like that. But I think they've just realised we can do this on our own. They are probably the easiest selling shows I've ever had to work on. They you know put the tickets on sale and they've just gone. So I've never really had to like push it. And I think if they're doing it if they can do that in 3 or 4 cities, you can do it yourself. I mean,
for sure.
Why give away a percentage to someone else? If you're not in it for like career reasons, you know, you're not trying to be like on Radio 1 or whatnot, you know, which they obviously know their market, and it's a 6 music market, and they know what they are. Why have someone else be in there when they know what they're doing?
Probably even prefer it, you know.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. I do kind of question how many more artists will choose to go it alone and like kind of decline management and labels. I mean, obviously there's a lot of, like, if you talk about the bands coming through at the moment, it's coming through, you know, what does that even mean anymore, I guess? But like, I mean, with the Speedy Wonderground record label and all that in London with Black Midi and all those kind of bands, it's an independent record label, like centered around one venue with like a certain niche of band on their label, and to an extent that is a kind of group of people doing it alone, you know, because there
is really good management in place for them bands though as well, which
maybe so, yeah, maybe so. I don't know the ins and outs.
Not to take anything away from them, you know what I mean? I think if you're in London and you're doing something good, you're gonna catch the eye of someone.
For sure. I mean, you never know the ins and outs of exactly what's going on, but I guess like that's kind of how it appears from the outside.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I'd not to take anything away from but I think there is good management in place, and stuff sometimes looks like it's a little bit more organic, even though I would say like they are doing the right things and playing the right, you know, the Speedy Wonderground thing is really, really good. I think before the pandemic, I mean, in terms of like music, I think Britain was bumping. I think it was really, really good, and I think for the first time in years, I was like, this is like, there's loads of different types of bands where you can go down sort of any different genres and be like, there's just really good stuff coming through. And it's not like when I first started like promoting, it was just after like the whole Camden thing had died down, you know, a few years after that. And you at that time you were getting like a lot of bands who sounded like quite similar. But I think a lot of bands are quite varied now. You know what I mean? If you listen to sort of like on Six Music, but also like blogs and stuff like that, stuff that people are playing, there's a massive variation on what people are listening to, and it was really good to see. I mean, hopefully that'll just bounce back to where it was after the pandemic is over, if it ever fucking ends.
Yeah,
but
I think that is true. Everyone talks about that moment that indie music had when you had the Monkees and the Strokes and then the Libs coming around and like and then there's that whole indie landfill thing that everyone talks about as well.
Yeah,
I think talking specifically about Sheffield as well, it's always people always like question like how far Sheffield has grown from that Arctic Monkeys period. And there's no doubt when a huge band comes out of a city, you're gonna have people that subconsciously or consciously sound like them.
Yeah,
well,
that's just how it works.
Every major place like Manchester, Oasis in Manchester, like Libertines in London. You know what I mean? Like,
but I think since then, I think Sheffield's definitely got over it. Like it's done. There's still definitely bands that take influence from that. Like, but that's not just Sheffield. That's all over the world.
I was gonna say that.
To be honest,
Everywhere.
but I think
if a band goes on to be one of the biggest bands in the world, and people from that same city hear someone who sounds like them on the radio, they're gonna be influenced by it, aren't they? You know what I mean? And I think that some of it is imitation, but like it's the ones who can actually make their own sound from that influence who kind of stick out, really, innit? You know?
Yeah. And I do think, obviously, with us coming in, we are a guitar-heavy group of guys in a band, and I think like I always used to speak to you and kind of get that inside knowledge of other genres that's going on in Sheffield.
Yeah, it is very, very varied. I mean, it's in like alternative music as a city, it's quite a varied city, you know, and there's lots of different groups and people doing stuff that's always been kind of bubbling, you know, from Audacious Art Experiment to Clam, you know, Delicious Clam, you know, places like Tie-Dye Tapes, places like that. There's always been pockets of people doing their own thing. It's kind of going against the grain of maybe the more mainstream indie stuff, you know what I mean? So I think in every city in the world, you have the stuff that is kind of the popular stuff that maybe a mass of people want to hear, but then there is always that alternative to that. I think they're the things that make a city interesting. When you like dig beneath the surface of something and you find out what's it, I think they're what make like a city.
So like when am I right in saying that your first kind of promotion job where you did bands and artists, like kind of within a scene or up and coming or whatever, was at SOYO?
Yeah, I mean, so I didn't start SOYO Live. It was Matt Cottrell who owns StreamYard. So Matt started SOYO Live, and I came and helped him out. And it was a lot of the time, you know, Matt doing a lot of the work. I was just really helping him out and kind of learning. But it was very much a main, like quite a mainstream night, quite a mainstream indie night as well. So it wasn't like we were booking weird stuff. We were booking a lot of it was people from around the city. But then we started going further afield, towards for the last kind of 2 years. It was like more bands coming from different places as well, which was really good. But
what were some of the earlier bands that you were booking?
Early days, it was a lot of Sheffield bands, local Sheffield bands. I mean, anyone who kind of was in the city. So like, like Seize the Chair, Best Friends, Drench played before, but also like bands that who've probably come and gone. You know what I mean? So many that people won't know, but it wasn't a night about bringing touring acts in to play. It was about promoting Sheffield artists, and it was a free gig.
Pulling a crowd.
Well, what it turned into is like a bit of a hub for like, so anyone who was in a band would come down on it was a Monday night, and pints were like £1.50 or something. So you could basically get pissed for free, see some free music, and you kind of meet everyone who's kind of in a scene, but in like, in playing around Sheffield basically. And the good thing about, so there was stuff that I would have kind of changed and maybe tried done a few different things, but the really good thing about what SOYO Live was it became a community kind of hub, and that's like the proud thing you can take away from it. Like some of the bands that we put on were probably not my taste, if I'm going to be completely honest. But then again, the Picture House, some of the bands that I was promoting probably weren't my taste either, and I was doing it because it was a job. So it's a complete different thing. But I think the community aspect, that's where you're like, oh, actually, we created something that was really good here.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's interesting because like when we've toured with Blackwaters, it's like we'll go even places like the first one that comes to mind is the Sesh. Is that Hull? Yeah. Like I mean the Sesh in Hull is like, it's just they put it on, I think it's once a month at the Polar Bear in Hull, and they'll have like one touring band with like a load of local support, and they just do that every month, and like the same kind of people turn up. Obviously sometimes it'll be local bands as well, I'm sure, like SOYO Live did. And like you say, they create that sense of community. You're going to see the same people there every time. Everyone's there to see a band, and it's like it becomes a meetup. And it's interesting because we wonder how many of them there are in Sheff now. I mean, the last one where I really felt like I'd see the same ones every time was the Bungalow Jazz Night. Like I always felt that when I went down there, I was like, I would see, I'd see the same faces again and again. But it's kind of, obviously nothing's going on at the moment, but
no, yeah, I think Sheffield is crying out for someone to do a similar thing where it's not really, I think it's really hard to put on local bands if you're trying to charge in and things like that. I mean, musicians you should be paid, but I mean, when you're kind of first starting out getting a gig, people are willing to play for nothing. Not that they should do, but I think a community-based night where people might be able to chip in a bit of cash towards petrol and things like that, where it would work really well again in Sheffield, just to create that kind of community vibe. You know what I mean? But I mean, no one knows the landscape of what Sheffield's going to.
You don't know where you're gonna
afterwards. Like, I mean, there wasn't that many live music like
yeah, there
out
wasn't.
and out live.
There wasn't, and yeah, it's hard to say what's
So
going to be there.
for City of Stars, you know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting. Maybe interesting is the wrong word. It might be
Traumatizing.
heartbreaking.
Yeah.
On the other side of it, but yeah, I mean,
yeah, I do agree that community type of night
it.
is needed in Sheffield when something gets back to usual. Like you said, we'll have to see where it leads us. But then after SOYO, you went to Pitch House, and I remember it was fun. It's funny because was there anything in between? Have I missed something?
Kind of, yeah. So for a few, yes, yeah. So when me and well, basically SOYO, they had above it is offices and design studio basically, but started renting the office about out above it, and it just made it really hard to put the shows on, like with sound check and things like that. So it just didn't make it viable. So me and Matt went away and we did a few gigs. He was managing a band called Hey Chalet at the time, who were doing pretty well, like around the UK at the time, just kind of breaking through. And I was just working in bars, and we were putting the odd, like we did a few shows at Bowery for a little bit. Kind of started that. It was called Tide and Mardy, and that was all right for a little bit. We were still. Matt worked for Tramlines at the time, and I was just kind of working. Then I got a job at Gatsby's basically, and then I'd known like OR and James Hill for a long time. And then when they said they were going to open another place, and they wanted me to kind of take on the live aspects. I talked to them about doing gigs, some more gigs, because
upstairs, right?
Gatsby's used to put gigs on.
Yeah,
in the upstairs room. So I talked to Aura about maybe getting involved with that, and then they said we're going to open Picture House basically.
It's most of it just comes from just knowing someone, just being like, oh yeah, I do this. Like, oh, sick. Do you want to do this? Like, it's just that's like how everything comes in Sheffield. I think it's a good thing, to be honest.
I think that's the world, to be honest. Like, you put yourself. I mean, in any industry, like you could be, I don't know, qualified, but if you're not going to talk to anyone, no one's going to. No, if you don't network, yeah, you have to network in life, don't you? Like, and that could be just you could go to a pub every day in the right pub with the right people in it, and someone might do something, and you might do the same thing, and you could connect on that. I got a mate who's a film producer who he volunteers at a youth club near his house, and a guy who's directing used to go to the youth club and just went and visited one time, and they got talking, and then they made a film off the back of it. You know, I mean, you just be in that place, and kind of you have to put yourself out there, don't you? I mean,
it really is true. I do think, like, we're talking about the London thing earlier. The Windmill seems to be that place at the moment in London. Like, to be honest, in Sheffield, I mean, people may disagree. Whenever I go to the Washy, I feel like I'm always bumping into some weirdos, or like that, I don't know, played this and done that, and like want to talk about this and that. And it's like, you've always got, I think, wherever city you are, you got to find that kind of hub of people that you can kind of be like, this is kind of my lot. You know what I mean? You can, wherever that may be. But I agree. It's definitely who, that saying hasn't changed.
Yeah. I mean, I don't believe I got like I've had jobs in the past what you apply for, but most of them are jobs that I've had
It's from going out on the session at times. You know what I mean? That's all it is, being handy in a fight.
Yeah, really. I mean, just like a drink and that.
Yeah. and then we met at Pitch House, and then
I mean, I went in there with OR and Hill. I was the assistant manager to start off with, as well as trying to get the live music running.
Can't believe I can't picture you as an assistant manager, Taz.
I mean, when we first opened, it was quite serious. Like, to trying to make the business work and stuff. But the roles had to kind of change around, because my focus was more on getting the live side of stuff in order, which I think went pretty well for the time, to be honest. But I mean, I think it was just a real tough thing to do to get.
Sure. It must have been like a marginal amount of pressure when the venue started. You're the first in-house promoter, and like maybe some people are relying on you to bring money into the venue. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think the really good thing was there was no from the outset. I wasn't told I had to do a certain thing. So from the outset, Aurora kind of said, "Do what you want," essentially. Um, Now I had to basically rein that in a little bit and say, well, not to anyone, but to myself. I said,
yeah,
well, what works in Sheffield? And I kind of veer down the road that has kind of been trodden on many times in Sheffield, you know. But I feel like what we always kind of said from the start is, as long as we're booking good stuff, we don't really mind, and they were willing to take a loss on a lot of stuff as
that is
well.
quite healthy. It's a lot of allows you to have a bit of freedom on your part, like you
Yeah.
said, to like if you really wanted a band in that you thought suited the venue, but was like, oh, we're not sure how much they sold. Like, they're not fully on your backs for that, which must have been quite nice, to be honest.
Well, they were not on that, and also there was no pressure on filling up the calendar, like getting 100 odd shows in a year, or you know, I mean, there was always constraints with booking shows in the building because we
Yeah.
share spaces with Abdel Pitch House, so there was always going to be that kind of. There weren't going to be as many shows per year as other venues could do, which then which makes your job a little bit harder because you're trying to book, you're trying to build up relationships with people, with agents and management, and you're trying to, we'll say, well, our venue's really good, come and play here, but they're like, well, you haven't got that many shows in, why not? You know what I mean? So, and so it's always a little bit of a battle, but I mean, it was between SOYO Live days and Picture House, there was quite a big period of not booking shows solidly. So it was very much like starting again. And I had a few contacts that I lent on pretty heavily, but it was like
Exactly.
building your contact book back up, really, which was really good, but also really tough. Um, Luckily, you're in a city where it's not one of the big regional cities. You know, as you know, probably touring. You know what I mean? It's not the best selling selling ticket.
Everyone plays Manchester and Leeds, just misses Chef like all the time. It consistently happens.
Yeah, well, that's why people have had to take a loss, for so long. But I think in the long run now, I think before the pandemic hit, as I was saying, people seem to be buying tickets, and it felt in my head, it felt a little bit.
Yeah.
It felt like the healthiest it's ever been. I even just like looking at other promoters, kind of moving into the city as well. You see people from out of town coming to put on shows in Sheffield. You also like the Leadmill change. The Leadmill check kind of changed up. I remember years back when it was Rebecca on a kind of on her own. Now she's got like quite a big team working there. You know, booking shows. Not a massive team, but still a little team there. Some junior promoters in there, working under her, and seeing what they're booking now in comparison to what they were booking back then is a lot different. Yeah, I mean, I think that's it's due to the fact that the city seems to be growing in that
I
aspect.
agree. I think I remember like kind of looking at my calendars before this pandemic and like seeing that, I want to see that band at this venue. They're all at different venues, all by different promoters, and it's like, and now I couldn't see any of them, but no, it's positive when you see that.
Yeah, I mean, it seems so strong. Kind of, it's a little bit like, I think from a promoter's perspective, because no like one independent promoter has kind of really ever took hold of the city. I mean, Kate, when she was at Harley Live and Tramlines, she had a really good like connection of contacts, and she would get amazing shows. But I don't think at times she was the best promoter. I would say I think she was booking the best stuff, and I'll say that to this day. But I don't think everyone was nailed. I don't think she was the main promoter. I think there was a lot of promoters around her, kind of all vying for her.
Sounds a bit healthier.
Yeah, but I think Sheffield's always been seen as a kind of like a bit like the Wild West because there's so many people trying to scrabble for it, but no one's ever really took hold of it.
Yeah.
Which I think is, in many ways, is a good thing. And I'd personally like to see a Sheffield company, based here. It won't be me because I probably won't be coming back to it, to be honest. But see someone based in Sheffield actually have a really good stab at like taking the mantle on of being the promote, big live music promoter.
Then
in this,
if you say like you no, like it's like the Wild West, no one's ever really taken that grip of things. Like, would it be good if one promoter was like, they're the go-to?
No,
you know what I mean?
But I know what you mean. But I mean, like if you look at a lot of the big cities, and I know like SJM have bigger fish to fry than like one city. But like I always looked at Now Wave, what they did over there. They put really quality stuff.
Yeah.
Really quality stuff, and for a time, they were. They weren't really. They were in a city where there was a lot of competition, and I thought the bookings were brilliant. But there was a lot of good promoters out there booking a lot of stuff as well. So it wasn't like they just had a stranglehold on the city, But what I'm trying to say is, I would like to see a Sheffield company do really well, booking in Sheffield and then growing.
Yeah, I mean,
rather than someone come from, I don't know, someone from Leeds come over and start doing stuff, and I'd rather it be someone from the city who loves the city to do it, not as just like a business thing, but someone who wants like to see the city do well, rather than someone from out of town. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, there's not many Sheffield promoters you see kind of also booking out of Sheffield.
No,
to an extent, you don't see many reach over to Manchester or Leeds, which isn't a bad thing. It's great because more for us. But like you say, it would be good to see like a Sheffield promoter or anyone put it on the map in that sense.
I think when you think of Sheffield as well, you have to think a lot of the times they're not just. It's not just a Sheffield gig, is it? You've got surrounding areas such as Rotherham, the whole of South Yorkshire, really.
Yeah.
That's where your aim should be. It should be about taking over for kind of that area, you know what I mean? It's not just. And I think Sheffield's quite insular in its thinking. It's always been like this little kind of hub. They call it like the biggest village in the world.
Yeah.
But maybe that's not a good thing. Maybe that's, maybe you should want to kind of make South Yorkshire the thing rather than, you know what I mean? Like in just in the mindset, I think, because think how many people have to travel from different places in South Yorkshire to get to a gig in Sheffield.
Yeah.
Some people might not be coming to a show in Sheffield, but they might be going to another city like Leeds. But why let's drag them over here rather than, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
that's something to always consider, isn't it? Because if you're putting on a show in Sheffield, say if we've always considered it when we're going on tour, it's like if you're putting on a show in Sheffield and in Leeds, you're kind of like all those people in the middle of the two cities. Mm-hmm. They're like split between.
Choose one.
But if you just pick one, then even the Leeds, they might come down to Sheff. It's like it's that calculated moves you got to make as a promoter and a band.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, I do. But you're now doing film, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, kind of. So as a day job, I'm working for a homeless charity, giving housing law advice, which is kind of a turn of events, to be honest. But it's really good. And then creatively, that I'm trying to get into film producing, short film. And I've been doing production assistant stuff for a couple of years, and now I'm in the process of taking the step up and getting my own films made. But I mean, as everything last year was kind of a complete write-off, and then with the Dell getting pregnant, there's just kind of I probably could have maybe got a film done last year, and I was in talks to do one, and then in the end it kind of just never worked out because of COVID, but because you know, I didn't want to be around other people, basically.
Yeah. I don't.
I didn't want to risk it. You know,
Yeah.
if I brought like COVID back to my house.
Everyone's had to put everything on hold, haven't they?
Well, yeah. I mean, so yeah, that's kind of the future, hopefully.
Pretty exciting.
But yeah, I wanted to do something where it was more creative for myself, because promoting is a really good thing to do, and I love putting shows on. Like towards the end, if I'm honest, I probably wasn't that happy. If I'm going to be honest, looking back, you know, hindsight's a really good thing, but now I can see I probably weren't that happy, and I think I was in that place for 5, 6 years, and my time really had come to the end. So the pandemic kind of did me a favor by making me get my arse in gear and get another job.
You even said
But
you almost fell into it. It wasn't necessarily like a drive for you.
no, you know, you know, if I'm honest, like I bet when I was the reason why I wanted to be a promoter is I watched this documentary when I was a kid. It was like a shit ITV2 documentary about basically this kid who started a UK garage night. And I was like, that sounds like a good job. And then my uncle was in like a hip hop group in Sheffield called Hoods Underground.
I never knew that about you.
No.
So I was around kind of like music a little bit, but not in a sense of like around it all the time. And I was like, oh, you know, I used to bang on about being a promoter. Then I didn't really know what it was. So then, you know, a few years later, I'd done it, and I got to the end of it. Yeah. Really, I mean, the sort of kind of like just lost the love.
Yeah.
I think, and it happens if you've been in a job for 5 or 6 years. I think the venue itself, we didn't have the funds to do what I wanted to do in terms of like doing it up and things like that. So it became quite hard to keep interested. At the time, I thought I still was very interested, but now looking back, I can see I wasn't.
I do think, especially with promotion, in the sense it is such a selfless job. So like you've kind of got to maintain that enthusiasm for it.
Yeah, I mean,
and if you don't, if you do lose that, it's just like sometimes you may feel like you're just getting absolutely no gain for yourself. Like,
well, yeah, I think it's also one of them jobs that someone could be doing for 20 years, and then you're like, what have I done for the past 20 years? Where you, especially like on small shows, like no one's making money. The bands aren't making money.
Yeah,
promoters aren't making money. I mean, like, and I think it should be, you know, I think everyone should be fairly paid out. I don't think. I'm not one of these promoters who are like, well, we put a show on, we should earn loads of cash. I don't think that's right. I think everyone should be well paid, down to the crew and everyone else. You know, I mean, I think as a promoter, I was always kind of fair in that sense. You know, and I never put in shady offers for bands. I thought I put in quite fair offers, and you know, I would have loved to be able to pay crew more, if I'm honest, but we just didn't have the budget. We don't have the budget for anything. So it was always kind of a real struggle. And it does take it out of you. I mean, and once you kind of start losing the love for it, if it becomes a chore, you know what I mean? I mean, like, you can. I think the good thing about promoting is if you are in that rut, and then you book something that you're really excited about, which happens quite a lot.
Yeah.
You kind of, it's a little bit like getting high, you know what I mean? You get that like hit, you're like, oh, wicked, I'm back in, like, your head is down.
Like gambling.
You can't, yeah, man.
I always remember, I remember you felt that way. Well, it seemed like you felt that way when you booked Yasmin Lacey, if I remember.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, I mean,
I remember because like you were trying to get a few more R&B and that kind of stuff at Pitch House, and then I remember you got Yasmin Lacey, and you were like, yes, man. Like,
yeah,
so sick.
I mean, in terms of the stuff that we're booking at Pitch House, I was brought up in like on soul, reggae, more like black music, basically.
Yeah.
And I didn't book black music at all. If I'm honest, I booked little bits here and there, bits of hip hop, but nothing like continuous, and it's the kind of stuff that if I ever go back to it, that's what I would probably be trying to promote rather than like post punk bands, like which it's music I really like, and a lot of bands that I really like, but I don't have like I'm not sitting down to the latest Fontaines DC record and listening to it. I've listened to it and I think it's good, but I'm not going home and listening to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. No, I remember we spoke about like booking more jazz artists. Like, I remember, and you went to me. You was just like, I always wanted to book like Moses Boyd and like all these kind of bands, but like I don't know, it never felt like you were able to, in a sense. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, I had in terms of like permission, I had that, but
Yeah,
the thing you've got to do is as a promoter is you've got to weigh up: is this person going to sell in a really tough city? I mean, especially at the time, Jordan was booking the jazz night at Bungalows, like you mentioned, which was really great, but there's some of the acts that he booked. I'll not name any names, but there was an act that he booked, put them on for free, and then I got offered them, and they were asking for a lot of money, and I'm just like, I can't. And they also want to be on a £14 ticket, and like jumping from a free show to a £14 ticket, is it going to work? You know what I mean? Like you have to weigh up all these different things as a promoter, and I just didn't think some of the stuff would work out. I didn't think it would sell enough to then have to put the pressure on the business, because that's what it would be, putting more pressure on the business. It can't
strike that balance, don't you? When it's a bar and a venue in the same, everyone's got to work together to try and get that balance. It's tricky.
Exactly, especially then, like when pizzas make more money than live music in that venue. You know, in terms of in longevity. You know what I mean? Live music brings a crowd of people in for a very short space of time.
Yeah.
But you have to. I think it's all about really weighing it. And we had like a target audience, which was very much a good audience, which you see a lot of return customers, but it was very much a Six Music crowd.
Oh, 100%. That's why I started working there, Taz. I remember.
And it was really good, but you also had to be like, if you veer too far away from it, are you going to kind of lose what it is? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I should have probably took that made more of a risk as a promoter, but you know what I mean?
Hindsight, as you said.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But no, I think once you fall out of love with it, in a sense, you do just kind of have to just take that leap and be like, nah, you'd be happier doing something else. And you seem happier doing film.
Changing shit in nappies.
Well, I don't know about that. I haven't seen you do it. You might be. Whatever floats your boat.
I mean, as of yet, I don't know. I mean, I could hate it.
Did you feel like it was like when you started promoting, did you feel like you were starting again, or did you feel like you knew more than you did about film than promoting?
No, I mean, I always had like a passion for film when I was younger. I always wanted to work in film, but it's like that thing, like, how do you do it? No, like it's like the music industry, isn't it? Like no one knows how to get into the music industry.
Yeah.
Unless you're some middle class kid whose dad knows someone, or whose dad works for an agency or something, and you become a 16-year-old and you can intern there and get your rent paid for. That's what the London music industry is, isn't it? Let's be like.
Yeah, we've had many a conversation.
Yeah. That's why it's not a varied place, is it? It's a place where a lot of middle class kids are, and then some people who have proved themselves, and they've.
Well, I mean, as we've established, the way to do it is to go to the right bars. Become an alcoholic. That's how you.
But yeah, I mean, like, it's not like you can crack the music industry by running a 200 cap live music venue, is it? Not all. I mean, like, you've got to go and work in like proper organisations.
You've got to work for someone.
If you have to. I think if I could look at my sort of career there at Picture House, I probably should have tried and gone and been someone's assistant at like SJM or something. probably after about 3 or 4 years, and then been like, I've done this for 3 or 4 years. Let's go and learn off someone who's booking bigger shows. You know, and I think, yeah, I mean, I'm probably my loyalty to the job, and because in terms of like, because I opened that venue, I had a lot of like, it was kind of my baby in that sense. So
for sure.
That's why I never kind of left until
I think it goes back to what you're saying about the community you got with SOYO Live. Do you know what I mean? It's like maybe, and you said at some of your shows you see the same people return. It's like you probably built that same community at Pitch House you did at SOYO, and probably some people from SOYO are at Pitch House. You know, it's like it's that, as it is with the Sheffield scene. Once you get into it and you get involved and you get to know everyone, it's sometimes it can be a bit impossible to leave or go home.
The city as well.
You know, it's the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, as you guys will know, like, you know, how long you guys been here now? Like 5 years?
4 or 5.
No, less than that. I think
4. Coming up to 4.
I think it's coming up to 4. Yeah.
Yeah, but as you like, know, like, it's a really friendly city
for sure.
You know what I mean? So like, anyone can kind of ingratiate themselves into like any kind of group. You know what I mean? And I think there are people out there who kind of really want to help people out as well. Across all sort of genre of music as well in Sheffield. I mean, you've got kind of everything.
I do feel that. I wondered how many times I was going to get called a Southern Pansy when I came up here and have a piss taken out of me for my accent. Quite a lot, actually. From you mainly. But yeah. But
you went to a mile away to quiet nights, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. It's more it's more friendly than a lot of cities, and like you say, it is the biggest village in the world. Yeah. But yeah, that's what we love about it, kind of. But yeah, we're reaching the hour mark. I think we've got everything we need.
I mean, it's been quite nice. I'll send you my invoice. And,
yeah. No, we did you get your rider?
Yeah, man. Yeah, empty bottle.
Oh, yeah. That empty bottle of Long Branch. Yeah, was that a present from Pitch House?
Yeah, from when we did that whiskey festival.
Oh, yeah. This is what having a kid does to you.
Yeah.
Well, past 10 o'clock. I'm usually in bed at this time.
Oh, bless you. We won't keep you up any longer, Taz.
Well, what a wonderful Friday night it's been.
It's been a pleasure, mate. I'll see you. We will see you on the other side of this horrible night.
I'll see you then, mate. Good luck with everything.
Lovely chatting to you, mate.
Peace.
Have a lovely sleep. Bye-bye.
Bye.